Right, so movie audiences these days have been exposed to so much that it's often hard to truly make them feel shocked, exhilarated, or appalled anymore. But with a winning combination of a skilled filmmaker, worthy material, and game actors, cinema can still get the blood a-pumping and the palms a-sweating. And these tense scenes, from brutal deaths to awesome car chases, terrifying scares, and unbearable suspense set pieces, all represent cinema at its most dizzyingly intense. So with all that in mind, I am Gareth, this is What Culture, and here are the 12 most intense movie scenes ever. Number 12, Paul gets hobbled, Misery. By far the most memorably disturbing and talked about scene from Rob Reiner's classic Stephen King adaptation is the horrifying hobbling sequence, right? In which crazed superfan Annie Wilkes stops her imprisoned favourite author Paul Sheldon from leaving by breaking his damn ankles with a sledgehammer. Yep, that'll do it. In what is one of cinema's all-time most nauseating moments, Reiner pulls absolutely no punches by showing Sheldon's first ankle break without cutting away. It's perfectly built up and executed, resulting in a scene of pure cringeworthy terror that's practically impossible to forget. Believe me, I've tried. And you thought internet fan culture was bad, eh? Number 11, Sally escapes the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre's quiet, slow-building opening eventually gives way to a heart-stopping finale, in which sole survivor Sally desperately limps away from the Sawyer household, with the hitchhiker and Leatherface in dogged chainsaw-wielding pursuit. After the hitchhiker is run over by a passing truck, Sally manages to escape in the back of a pickup, which speedily drives off, leaving Leatherface to swing his chainsaw in the air like a madman before we cut to black and the film ends. Tobe Hooper's direction superbly milks this sequence for maximum visceral impact. From Sally's maniacal laughing when she makes her escape, to the unforgettable final image of the chainsaw swinging around. The less is more approach to sound also helps massively. I mean, the mere buzzing of the chainsaw is more than enough to get the pulse racing here. Number 10, the final chase, Mad Max Fury Road. Car chases do not come much more exciting or awe-inspiring than Mad Max Fury Road's astonishing 15-minute final chase. Though, come to think of it, the entire film is pretty much an extended race sequence. But right now, I want to talk about the last few laps, or something, okay? From director George Miller's expert melding of practical and visual effects, to the sheer array of intense mayhem taking place at any one time on screen, it is a heart-pounding sequence boosted by some excellent musical accompaniment from Junkie XL. That's the good stuff right there. I mean, action in cinema is rarely, if ever, this brilliantly sustained, and that it manages to maintain viewer attention without being utterly exhausting to watch is honestly an impressive achievement in of itself. And while we're talking about crazy chase sequences, I want to know what is your favourite chase scene of all time. You throw it in that comment section down below, baby. Number 9, The Church Massacre, Kingsman: The Secret Service. Kingsman: The Secret Service may be a rather ridiculous action flick for the most part, but there's one sequence that's legitimately quite discomforting in its wanton brutality. After Harry Hart follows a lead to a Kentucky church full of racists and bigots, the villainous Richmond Valentine activates his mind control SIM cards, causing the churchgoers to start murdering one another. And the whole thing is, well, it's something else. Cue Harry shooting, stabbing, and blowing up the parishioners until he's the only one left standing, in an extremely badass yet also undeniably unsettling 3-minute sequence. One which blends shots together to resemble a fluid single take, and is made all the more intense by smart use of Lynyrd Skynyrd's Freebird. And it definitely ends on a hell of a bombshell too. Number 8, Docking, Interstellar. After Matt Damon's man is killed attempting to sabotage Coop's mission, Coop must perform a risky docking move with the Endurance, which after a prolonged effort is ultimately successful. Now that is a quick way of summing up a ridiculously intense scene. The main reason this scene is so fondly remembered is unquestionably Hans Zimmer's incredible score. The guy just does not miss, does he? The track No Time for Caution amps up the intensity considerably to match Christopher Nolan's visually stunning direction, and Matthew McConaughey's tremendous physical performance during the sequence. The tension of waiting to see whether the docking will work melds with the sheer awe of the production to make this perhaps the most singularly stunning scene of Nolan's entire career to date. Well, if it's not, then I want you to tell me what is in the comment section down below. Number 7. The Car Ambush, Children of Men. Alfonso Cuarón's visionary sci-fi masterwork is perhaps best remembered for its technically astonishing car chase sequence, in which Theo's car, containing the first woman to get pregnant in 18 years, is attacked by an armed gang. Theo's estranged wife, Julian, is shockingly shot dead during the desperate escape, which is all captured in one impressively seamless, smooth, single 4-minute shot, all from within the car, albeit achieved with takes digitally stitched together. Movie magic and all that. Cuarón had to make use of a special camera rig to deliver the tight, claustrophobic angles seen in the final film, and the white-knuckle end result definitely speaks for itself. Number 6. You're gonna need a bigger boat, Jaws. Picking just one heart-stopping scene from Steven Spielberg's suspenseful classic is not easy. But there is simply no denying the ferocity of the shark rising out of the water when Brody lays down the chum line. My god, I'm stressed out just saying that. The unexpected nature of the shark's arrival makes it one of cinema's all-time best jump scares, perfectly setting the tone for what is to come, accompanied by Brody's iconic line, "You're gonna need a bigger boat." Understatement of the damn century. There are gorier moments, sure, but the simple thrill of the shark popping up and swimming around the boat is an absolute masterclass in sustained intensity. Just Spielberg doing Spielberg things. And I've still not put my toe in that big puddle you call the sea ever since. Cheers, Steve. Number 5. I Drink Your Milkshake, There Will Be Blood. Daniel Day-Lewis gave one of the all-time best performances as Daniel Plainview in Paul Thomas Anderson's classic drama, exemplified no better than in Plainview's final showdown with huckster-pastor Eli Sunday. Plainview quietly, calmly berates Sunday before launching into a more aggressive and eccentric tirade, as he tells him, "I drink your milkshake, I drink it up!" and screams, "I told you I would eat you!" Daniel then grabs a bowling pin and beats Eli to death as the film's final dark exclamation point. It's a rare example of a scene that's equally unsettling in both its quieter and more action-packed moments, creating a fascinating portrait of wanton greed's inevitable final outcome. Number 4. Andrew's final performance, Whiplash. Now here's an insanely intense climactic movie scene that doesn't feature a single gunshot or act of violence, just a ludicrously skilled drummer pulling off the performance of his life. Whiplash's dazzling finale sees drumming prodigy Andrew performing for his former hard-ass jazz instructor Terence Fletcher, and after Fletcher attempts to intentionally derail Andrew's performance, Andrew returns with a show-stopping performance of the notoriously difficult piece Caravan. Fletcher can only help conduct the piece with a mix of infuriation and admiration for his former student, whose 10-minute drumming assault is as thrilling as any shootout or car chase Hollywood can muster. Seriously, you probably want a cigarette or a cool shower after watching this sequence, but don't do both at the same time, you've been warned. Number 3. The Mexican Standoff, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Sergio Leone's unforgettable western climaxes with Blondie, Tuco, and Angel Eyes partaking in a Mexican standoff, as they slowly take their positions and painstakingly eyeball one another for several extremely tense minutes. Ennio Morricone's scintillating musical score, Leone's terrific use of close-ups of his actors' faces, and the pin-sharp editing combine to make this one of the most exciting final showdowns in the history of cinema, which concludes with, spoiler, Blondie killing Angel Eyes. I mean, it came out in '66, you've had enough time to watch it. It is cinematic perfection and has aged exceptionally well over its 58 years. Better than any of us will anyway. Number 2, the final montage, Requiem for a Dream. Darren Aronofsky's addiction drama ends with an almost unbearable 10-minute descent into hell that sees the central characters all succumbing to their vices. Set to Clint Mansell's mind-blowing musical score, we witness Sarah become a shell of her former self after going through electroshock therapy, her son Harry has his infected arm amputated, Harry's girlfriend Marion performs lewd sexual acts for drugs, and Harry's best friend Tyrone suffers from drug withdrawal in jail. It is an utterly hypnotic montage in the most depressing way possible, with the discordant music and repetitious dialogue only enhancing the already disturbing images you're watching on screen. insane. Put it this way, this isn't one to watch if you're feeling a bit sad, but it's still one hell of a trip if you're ready for it. Number 1, Russian Roulette, The Deer Hunter. And finally, the number 1 spot goes to the emotionally shattering finale to Michael Cimino's incredible 1978 classic war drama. And let me explain why. The third act sees Mike heading back to Vietnam to track down his pal and fellow soldier Nick, who has gone AWOL. Mike eventually finds him playing Russian roulette with seemingly no memory of his pre-war life, and in an attempt to lure Nick out of the game, Mike enters himself to play against him. What could go wrong? A palm-sweatingly tense exchange of trigger pulls ensues, before Mike speaks to Nick and appears to break through his traumatized exterior. But a moment later, Nick pulls the trigger again, killing himself. Jeez, man. The utter horror of seeing Mike cradle Nick's corpse as the bloodthirsty crowd makes a ruckus, with no sudden interjection of sentimental music, cements this as the most emotionally and dramatically intense scene in cinema history, and it never gets easier to watch.